Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna की हिंदी है Hare Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare.
So Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All grace to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining today for our regular program. So we'll start with our special slot where devotees are giving the presentation and talk on a particular topic. So today, I'm sure Amish, I can see him. She is ready. And Amish, would you like to share something? Should I give you the
Yeah, I have to share my screen.
Yeah, I think you should be able to share. I do have permissions open.
It says you cannot share screen while
really?
other participants.
Okay, hold on.
Well,
Give me a second.
Oh, now it's working.
Okay, cool.
Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. So should I start?
Yes, it's all yours. You can start.
Okay. So my presentation is on Gopal Bhatt Goswami.
Yeah.
So Gopal Bhatt Goswami was one of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, and he was born in 1503 on the 13th day of the dark moon. And Srila Gopal Bhatt Goswami lived for 75 years and left this world to enter into the eternal pastimes of the Lord in 1578. So Srila Gopal Bhatt Goswami was the son of Venakata Bhatt, a Brahmin from the Sri Rangam in South India, who was initiated in the Sri Sampradaya tradition. So Gopal Bhatt Goswami was initiated in the Gauriya Sampradaya, and he established the Radha Ramana temple in Vrindavan, which many of us have visited. So I have a pastime that occurred when he was a child that is important. So in the year 1511, Mahaprabhu came and stayed for 4 months at his father's house. Gopal Bhatt, who was then just a child, when the boy came to offer his obeisances at the lotus feet of Mahaprabhu, he picked him up and very affectionately seated him in his lap. Mahaprabhu would call Gopal after he had finished his meal and offer his reverence to the boy. In this way, he prepared him for the position of Acharya. So when Mahaprabhu was leaving his father's house, Gopal fell at his lotus feet in a dead faint. Therefore, Mahaprabhu remained for a couple more days in order to console the boy. Being pleased with Gopal Bhatt Goswami's sincere service and devotion, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered him to move to Vrindavan after the disappearance of his parents and to perform bhajan and rite in Vrindavan. He instructed him to serve his mother and father and always engage in chanting Krishna's glories, and thereafter to come to Vrindavan. So now I have to share another pastime that occurred when his visit to the famous Kali Gandaki river. So this river is in Nepal. So Gopal Bhatt bathed in the famous Kali Gandaki river. Upon dipping his water pot into the river, he was surprised to see several Shaligram Shilas enter his pot. And Shaligram Shilas are kind of like, they resemble like these, kind of like a black stone. But the Shilas re-entered his pot when he refilled it. After emptying and refilling his water pot for the 3rd time, Gopal Bhatt Goswami found 12 Shaligram Shilas sitting there. Thinking this must be the Lord's mercy, he kept all the Shilas and returned to Vrindavan. So Srila Gopal Bhatt Goswami used to worship 12 Shaligram Shilas. Wherever he would go, he would bring them with him in a piece of cloth tied at the corner. One day, a wealthy man, Seth, came to Vrindavan and offered Gopal Bhatt a variety of clothing and ornaments for his Shaligrams. Being very impressed with the Goswami, he wanted his darshan and to render some service, which he presented in the form of some valuable clothes and ornaments. However, Gopal Bhatt couldn't use these for his round-shaped shaligrams. So he advised the donor to give it to someone who has a deity. There would be better use. While Gopal Bhatt Goswami was absorbed in remembering how the half-man, half-lion form of the Supreme Lord had manifested from the pillar of Hiranyakashipu's palace, he prayed in transcendental lamentation to the Lord. "O my Lord, you are very merciful and always fulfill the desires of your devotees. I wish to serve you in your form, having arms and legs and blissful smiling face with lotus eyes. If I had a deity, I would be able to decorate him so nicely with these clothes and ornaments." So in the evening, after offering some bhoga and prayers to his Shaligam Shilas, Gopal Bhatt put them to rest, covering them with a blanket. Late in the night, Gopal Bhatt took a little rest and then in the morning went to bathe in the Yamuna River. Returning from his bath, he uncovered the Shaligrams in order to render puja for them. And then a monk saw a deity of Krishna playing the flute. There were now 11 Shalis and this deity. The Damodar Shila had manifested as the beautiful threefold bending form of Tri-Bhagana Krishna, floating in the ocean of ecstasy. He fell to the ground in order to offer his danvats and then recited various prayers and hymns. This wonderful event of the appearance day of Radha Ramana happened on the day after Sri Narasimha Chaturdashi and is celebrated on that day accordingly. That day, they offer 500 liters of milk for the Lord's pleasure and many other sweets and different offerings. The Radha Raman temple has the highest standard of deity worship in all of Raj. Sri Gopal Bhatt Goswami ki jai.
Jai. Very nice darshan. Shri Radharaman ki jai. So can we imagine how that small shilas, they got transformed into this beautiful form of Krishna. This is the power of devotion and power of Krishna consciousness. Wonderful presentation, Amish. Anything else you want to add?
No.
Okay.
Does anyone have any questions?
Yes, absolutely. Anyone has any questions, any comments? Wonderful presentation by Amish. Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Good presentation, Amish.
Thank you.
Yeah, we liked it.
Very nice, to the point, and actually, usually devotees don't talk too much about Gopal Goswami, but he's such an important personality in the Krishna consciousness and in our parampara. So one of the very nice point that you covered was how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed him to first serve his parents and then come to Dham or Vrindavan, and so serving parents is as important as serving Krishna. So unless we have the blessings and permission of parents, we should not indulge ourselves in the we should not leave them. That's the whole idea. We should serve them first, because Krishna also becomes very happy when we are serving our parents in whatever way we can, best way. That's a very nice point. Very nice teaching from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Anyone has any other question, any comment? Anything you liked in the presentation, you can point out. Amish, where is that river where he found those shilas?
It was in Nepal.
Yes, Nepal. Devotees, even today they go and they take bath in that river. Okay.
Hare Krishna. Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah. Have you seen these Radhanamanji pictures closely? Sometimes when you see the picture, he's laughing. Sometimes he's showing his one teeth, sometimes not, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it so beautiful?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let me share.
Those pictures when I see, it amazes me all the time. Sometimes he's showing his teeth.
Yeah, so if you see this, here, it might not be very clear, but it has been the experience of devotees that sometimes you can really see the white teeth, beautiful teeth very clearly, and sometimes you can't see. So Vigraha is Sakshat Krishna, he is Sakshat personality, the person Krishna. He's not the stone. So he reciprocates with devotee service, their seva. Many devotees, even in pictures, if you follow the pictures regularly, you can find out that sometimes he's showing his teeth and sometimes he's just smiling with closed mouth. And it is said that when Vajranabh, the great grandson of Krishna, he took upon himself to re-establish Dham. So he established the temples of Krishna in the whole Braj area. All the temples like Radha Shyam Sundar, especially the Radha Govind, Radha Madhav, and many temples he re-established. So it is said that Radha Raman, Shri Radha Raman is the actual representation of how Krishna used to look. Exactly the same face, same chest area, same bottom area. So he's the complete representation of how Krishna used to look. Okay. Anything else anyone would like to say? Okay. Thank you so much, Amish. Thank you again for a very nice presentation. I really liked it. Shri Shri Radha Raman ji ki jai, Gopal Bhatt Goswami ki jai. Okay, with that, we can move to the other part of the program, which is our Bhagavad Gita verse, Bhagavad Gita study. Today, we are going to study and read and try to understand the verse number 15 from chapter 5. So, let me see the presentation. Okay, so welcome again, everyone. We'll start with our Bhagavad Gita study. And again, as I said, the idea of these sessions is to interact with each other, participate in this study, because just for listening, we have so many audios, so many kathas by so many great devotees, so many great spiritual masters. We can hear them at home. But the idea here is to share with each other our realizations or whatever our real understanding is of the verse and help each other also at the same time. So we'll start with our Mangala Charan prayers. Om Ajnana Timirandasya. All of us can recite these auspicious prayers. We'll take the blessings of our Guru Parampara, our spiritual masters, so that whatever we will try to study and understand today, that can help us in, at least in some way, in our path of devotion and to purify our consciousness. Om Ajnana
Timirandasya
Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun
Chakshurunmilitam yena तस्मै श्री
गुरवे
गुरवे नमः।
श्री
श्री चैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन
भूतले
भूतले
स्वयं
स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति सुखदातिकम्।
वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु
जगत्पते
श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेव श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु
दीनबन्धु जगत्पते
गोपेश
गोपिका कान्त
राधाकान्त
राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते।
तप्त कांचन
सप्तकाञ्चन
गौरांगी
गौरीङ्गी
राधे
राधे
वृंदावनेश्वरी
वृन्दावनेश्वरी
वृषभानुसुते
सुते देवी
प्रणमामि
प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये।
वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यः कृपा सिन्धुभ्यः
एव
पतितानां
पावनेभ्यो
वैष्णवेभ्यो
वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः।
नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणी निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देव जय श्री कृष्ण
कृष्ण चैतन्य
प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि
गौर भक्त वृंद।
हरे
हरे
कृष्ण
कृष्ण
कृष्ण कृष्ण
कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे
हरे
हरे राम हरे राम
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 राम हरे हरे।
So Hare Krishna once again. So we'll start with our. So we'll first recite the verse and then we will discuss what we can understand by mercy of our masters. Bhagavad Gita 5.15. Nadate kaschayit papam na chaiva sukrutam vibhu ajnanena vratam jnanam tena muyanti jantavaha. Nadate kaschayit
पापं
na
न
chaiva
चैव
sukrutam
सुकृतं विभु
ajnanena
अज्ञानेनावृतं ज्ञानं
tena
तेन
muyanti
मुह्यति
jantavaha.
जन्तवः।
Nadate
नादन्ते कस्यचित् पापं
kaschayit na
न
chaiva
चैव
sukrutam
सुकृतं विभु
अज्ञानेनावृतं
अज्ञानेनावृतं ज्ञानं
तेन
तेन
मुह्यन्ति
मुह्यति
जन्तवः.
जन्तवः।
Anyone would like to recite?
नादत्ते कस्यचित् पापं न चैव सुकृतं विभुः अज्ञानेनावृतं ज्ञानं तेन मुह्यन्ति जन्तवः।
Thank you, uncle. Anyone else?
नादते कष्टयत् पापं न चैव सुकृतं विभु आज्ञानेन व्रतं ज्ञानं तेन मुह्यन्ति जानतवः।
Jantavaha. Anyone else would like to recite?
नादते कस्यचित् पापं न चैव सुकृतं विभु अज्ञानेनावृतं ज्ञानं तेन मुह्यन्ति जन्तवः.
One more devotee can recite.
नादते कश्चित् पापं Nacheva Sukritam Vibha Ajanvratam Janam Tena Muhyanti Jantava.
Thank you. Synonyms, word to word meaning. Na, never. Adatte, accepts. Kaschet, anyone's. Papam, sin. Na, nor. Cha, also. Ev, certainly. Sukritam, pious activities. Vibhu, the Supreme Lord. Ajnanen, agyanen, by ignorance. Avratam, covered. Jnanam, knowledge. Ten, by that. Muhyanti, are bewildered. Jantavaha, the living entities. So the translation is, nor does the Supreme Lord assume anyone's sinful or pious activities. Embodied beings, however, are bewildered because of the ignorance which covers their real knowledge. The topic we are trying to discuss is, the chapter is Action in Krishna Consciousness. So anyone remember what we discussed last time? What was the topic of discussion? So we are trying to discuss or understand. See, what we discussed was, whenever there is an action, right? There are three main players, three main parts. One is Jiva, the living entity, the soul. And second is the material nature, that is Prakriti. And third, which is revealed, which Krishna is revealing in this verse, is Ishvara, super soul. The living living entity, what he does, he desires. So all the three things are important. And we are trying to understand who is the real doer actually. हम लोग, what we think, मैं करता हूँ. I am the doer. That is the false ego in general. In this world, all living entities have that I am the doer. So, but with the help of Bhagavad Gita, we can really understand who is the real doer and why. When we had the wrong conception of who is doing, who is actually performing the action, it entraps us into this material world. So we discussed that Jiva, he desires, he has certain desires. Then in the last session, we discussed how material nature facilitates. So Jiva is not the doer, actual doer. The soul can only have a desire. Then this material nature, under the three modes of the nature, the facilities are given to the Jiva so that the execution of the desire happens. Whether that desire will be successful or will fail, that's a different topic. But the facilities and the environment is given by material nature. So in one way, Jiva is not, the soul is not the real doer. Material nature is the real doer. But again, then, without the help of super soul, the action cannot be performed. So we'll understand that portion in this verse. So before that, let's read the purport, because without reading Srila Prabhupada's purport, it's hard to get the real realization and understanding. Let me share the purport. Let me increase the font size. Anyone would like to read the purport?
The Sanskrit word Vibhu means the Supreme Lord, who is full of unlimited knowledge, riches, strength, fame, beauty, and renunciation. He is always satisfied in himself, undisturbed by sinful or pious activities. He does not create a particular situation for any living entity, but the living entity, bewildered by ignorance, desire to be put into certain conditions of life, and thereby his chain of action and reaction begins. A living entity is by superior nature full of knowledge. Nevertheless, he is prone to be influenced by ignorance due to his limited power. The Lord is omnipotent, but the living entity is not. The Lord is Vibhu or omniscient, but the living entity is Anu or atomic. Because he is a living soul, he has the capacity to desire by his free will. Such desire is fulfilled only by the omnipotent Lord. And so, when the living entity is bewildered in his desires, the Lord allows him to fulfill those desires. But the Lord is never responsible for the actions and reactions of this particular situation, which may be desired. Being in a bewildered condition, therefore, the embodied soul identifies himself with the circumstantial material body and becomes subjected to the temporary misery and happiness of life. The Lord is the constant companion of the living entity as Paramatma or the super soul, and therefore he can understand the desires of the individual soul, as one can smell the flower of a flower by being near it. Desire is a subtle form of conditioning for the living entity. The Lord fulfills his desire as he deserves. Man proposes and God disposes. The individual is not therefore omnipotent in fulfilling his desires. The Lord, however, can fulfill all desires, and the Lord, being neutral to everyone, does not interfere with the desire of the minute independent living entities. However, when one desires Krishna, the Lord takes special care and encourages one to desire in such a way that one can attain to him and be eternally happy. The Vedic hymns therefore declare, Esha Yuya He Eva Sadhu Karma Karyati Tam Yam Ebhyo Lokabhe Unishate Esha Yu Eva Sadhu Karma Karyati Yam Adho Ninishate. The Lord engages the living entity in pious activities so that he may be elevated. The Lord engages him in impious activities so that he may go to hell. Kaushtiki Upanishad 3.8. Ajno jantur anishoyam ayam atmana sukha dukhayo ishvara prerito gachet swargam vasva abram evacha. The living entity is completely dependent in his distress and happiness. By the will of the Supreme, he can go to heaven or hell, as a cloud is driven by the air. Should I continue? There, yeah.
Anyone else would like to read the next paragraph?
I can.
Yeah, please.
Therefore, the embodied soul, by the immemorial desire to avoid Krishna consciousness, causes his own bewilderment. Consequently, although he is constitutionally eternal, blissful, and cognizant, due to the littleness of his existence, he forgets his constitutional position of service to the Lord and is thus entrapped by nescience. And under the spell of ignorance, the living entity claims that the Lord is responsible for his conditional existence. The Vedanta Sutras 2.1.34 also confirms this. Vaismaya
Vaishmaya nirghanya na shapekshastvat tatha hi darshayati.
The Lord neither hates nor likes anyone, thought he appears to.
Yeah. So very, very big purport. Anyone would like to share what they could catch? Anything that they would like, you might have been able to catch from this purport? It's a really big purport. Okay, so we'll try to understand it in little simple words. Srila Prabhupada has this amusing ability to give everything in the purport of just one verse, the whole Krishna consciousness. And this is one of the purport is like this. So again, the translation is, nor does the Supreme Lord assume anyone's sinful or pious activities. Embodied beings, however, are bewildered because of the ignorance which covers their real knowledge. So continuing our discussion, okay, a soul, desires, that triggers the action. But without material nature, the action cannot be completed. So in the last verse, it was said that it's not jiva, but material nature that does the action. But again, one more important component is Ishwar. So here what Krishna is saying, that he does not create any particular situation for any living entity. So usually what we see, there is a saying also that even a blade of grass cannot move without the sanction of God. So that is the whole summum bonum of this verse. We will understand that. What does it mean when we say like that? In one way, Krishna is saying in this purport, in this verse, that he is not responsible for the action of living entity. But on the other hand, we say even a blade of grass cannot be moved without his sanction, his permission. So we'll try to understand that. Usually what happens, a lot of people have this tendency to blame God for everything. Why God has done this to me? Why at this time only this has happened to me? And why me only, not the other person? Why it has happened to me? So, but the same people will not say anything when all the good things, what they think is good to them, it is happening. They will take whole credit. But when things will not go in their way, in the way they would like to, they will start complaining. Actually, such people will complain, each and everyone, not just God or just not one person. They get into this tendency of complaining and criticizing, but they will never look within. What are their actions? Why this is happening to them? They will blame everyone for their failure. This temple, this thing not happened. This program, this thing not happened. Others, but never they will take responsibility of their actions, and that is a sign of false ego. And we all are the reason we are here in this world is because of this false ego. We always try to blame others, but never look within. So three main questions generally people do. Why me? Why this happened to me? And why at this time? So Krishna, in essence, he's saying here in this purport, if we read the purport properly, that I'm not going to take the blame from you. You can try, but good luck next time. You can keep trying. I'm not a garbage box. I'm not to be blamed because you are desiring, and based on your desire, situations are getting created by material nature. So you yourself has to be blamed for your sins or even for pious work, right? We also do, a living entity does combination of pious work, good work, and bad work, right? The duality. So do not make me the scapegoat. So Krishna is kind of raising his hand. I'm not at fault here. Why? And why? He's also saying, he's asking a question. Why would I make you suffer? I'm your loving father. So whether you do a pap or punya, I'm not responsible. Now, then what is the role of Ishwar then? If Krishna is saying I'm not responsible for anything, then what is the role of Ishwar? So the role of Ishwar we can understand in three ways. First, he provides the soul, the living entity, with the powers to act through whatever way the body, he provides the body so that a living entity can act. Second most important thing is he's a witness. So once we have performed any action with the power supplied to us, he will take a note of our action, what exactly are we be doing. So let me show a picture that will make it more clear. So everyone must have at some point must have seen this picture. What it's from Upanishad. This explanation is from Upanishad. So what is being described is that it's like two birds sitting on a tree, right? One is eating the fruit and one is just watching. So we all know Paramatma is he's always accompanying us in our journey throughout this rotation of birth and death. No matter what body we go into, it could be the abominable body of a pig or the highest body of Brahma or a demigod or any other living entity, he is always accompanying us as our loving father. He is our pure well-wisher. He never leaves us. So in that way, it is being represented as two words, where the word which is coolly and calmingly sitting is the Krishna. And the one word who is doing too much of action, too much of anxiety, too much of passion, that is soul, living entity, us. So Krishna is the witness. He's just, this bird is eating all the fruits, busy, very busy, like us. We are busy in so many things, so many activities, so much passion. Our need is very little, but we are making our needs and wants so much that we end up into this trap of Maya. And we get into this trap of overwork, over endeavoring, working for many hours, like things like that. So this bird we can see all ready to fly. I'm in action. So eating the fruits, and sometimes those fruits are bitter, sometimes those fruits are sweet, right? So this Krishna is just watching. He's calmly watching. So that's how Krishna is a witness. Now difference is that super soul is not doing, Krishna as super soul is not doing anything, and living entity as soul is always busy and engaged. Now, even in bhakti, this happens. We turn away from Krishna. It may seem like we are doing bhakti, devotion, and we start boasting about ourselves. I have read so much. I am doing so many rounds. 16 rounds to mere morning mein aise hi ho jate hain, like this. There are many souls like that. And we'll boast about our sadhana. And it sounds like whatever I am doing, whatever sadhana I am doing is on my own efforts. But the fact is that we cannot even move one step ahead in bhakti without the help of Vaishnavas, without the help of devotees. And if we are thinking otherwise, we are not actually moving forward, we are going backward. So we should always be cognizant of the fact that Krishna as super soul is always watching us. We very conveniently forget about it. We'll talk about things like we should see everyone as same, everyone is good, everyone is that, but we always forget when it comes to us, we very conveniently forget about the fact that Krishna is also sitting inside and watching our activities, our consciousness. So he is witnessing everything. That is a very important role of Krishna. And the third important role, which is even important, is he sanctions. So although material nature, she provides the facility to act, without the sanction of Krishna, nothing will happen. And he also gives us the results of our actions, our karmas. The question may come, why does Krishna sanctions our actions, especially bad actions? If he is the controller, he can control. Why doesn't he control our bad actions? Any answers? Is the question clear to everyone? The question is, if Krishna has this power that he can sanction our actions, then why does he allow somebody to do bad actions or a pap karma?
Some of the things he will correct, but prarabdha karma we have to suffer in this life. That's what I think.
Okay, that is one way to understand. And another way to understand is that he is a loving father. So you know, there was a criminal in Bombay. It's a real story. In Mumbai, there was a serial killer who has a very special or very bad way of doing this crime, that he used to kill people living in the footpath of Mumbai who were sleeping, with hitting them with the huge rocks. Very abominable act. So once he was caught and he was presented in the court, and judge asked him, why are you doing this kind of act? And the answer he gave, you know what, the Paramatma in my heart is inspiring me to do this. It sounded like he was a student of Bhagavad Gita, but it was a result of half knowledge or too much of knowledge that he has gained on his own from Bhagavad Gita. That's why we should never attempt or try to study on our own. We should always understand Bhagavad Gita in the direction of or shelter of a spiritual master and devotees. So that's what is answer. Very interesting answer, right? That Paramatma in my, what can I do? Paramatma in my heart is inspiring me. He's controlling my actions. Now, Judge was also not less. He was also a good student of Bhagavad Gita. So he has studied this verse, 15th verse of chapter 5. So he immediately said, no, Krishna is not inspiring you. The idea is people have this tendency to blame God for everything. But why does God seemingly he sanctions the bad things? Because he has given us the free will. We are part and parcel of Krishna. So the qualities that Krishna has, those qualities also are in the soul, in the living entities, in very limited quantity, but they are there. And Krishna doesn't take this free will, he doesn't take away this free will from us, because if he takes away that free will, then there cannot be a loving relationship. The true love is when we do not control others, the object of love. We give them full freedom, right? So Krishna never takes away that freedom. At the same time, another way to understand is, let's say there is a child, and so parent will say, no, if child is eating too much chocolates, they will say your teeth will go bad. But some child, they will create a lot of scene, right? They will just roll on the ground in the street, and they will not listen to the parent. What happens? And they will even start hurting themselves. So as a loving father, what the father will do, he will sanction his demand unwillingly, knowing that child will be responsible for the fruits of that action. So whenever we do not listen to Krishna, his instructions, he still sanctions as a loving father, but unwillingly. He doesn't take away the free will from us. I hope that point is clear. If any questions or any more things you want to add, feel free to add. You can stop me anytime. So the point is that the individual soul, as living entities, we have this freedom to perform good or bad actions. That is our free will. And so what is the role of God here? We can, all of us know cricket, right? So we can understand it's like God's work is like umpire, right? The umpire will give the facility. Somebody wants to field, somebody wants to bat, somebody wants to ball, But if there is a 4 run, he will say 4 runs or 6, or he will give out if somebody is out. So umpire is not attached to the result. He is neutral. So he cannot be blamed if somebody is out. Batsman cannot blame him that how come I got out. Empire is just giving the result of the karma. So that is another way to understand the role of Krishna. Now, sometimes the question comes, why Krishna has given us free will? He could just control us and take us all back to the spiritual world. But we already discussed, he has given us free will, because without free will, there is no question of love. So that question can be answered in that way. Now, also, Krishna is Sorat, completely independent. In Srimad Bhagavatam, in the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Vyasadeva mentions this fact that Krishna is completely independent because there is no other cause beyond him. He is the supreme proprietor. Janmadi asya yato annavayad itaras chartheshwa abhijat swarat. Abhigya swarat. He is fully aware of everything in the whole creation, fully aware all the time. He is fully cognizant as well as fully independent. Okay, so when this Swarat word is very important actually to understand one of the qualities of Krishna. No other living entity can say I am Swarat, fully independent. We have little independence in very minute quantity, but Krishna is the only one who is fully independent. Krishna is Vibhu, the word that comes in this verse. He is the Vibhu, who has all the 6 opulences. Even Lord Brahma has to meditate upon Krishna before he can create anything. And so what to speak of the scientist, the great scientist. Sometimes the scientist or even a normal living entity, they come into this false ego that I have created this, I have created this, I have come up with this invention or this particular experiment. But where did that intelligence came from? Where does that brain came from? It came from Krishna. So Krishna is the original Swarat. Okay. So now the second part of this verse is, the first part is Krishna cannot be held responsible. Let me go back to the verse. The first part is Krishna cannot be held responsible for our sinful or pious activities. And the second part is that this living entity, why they are bewildered? Because of ignorance. So the question is, why the living entity, or why we as soul, we desire for material things? Why are we bewildered? Because we are identifying ourselves. The soul is identifying itself with this material world. So why that happens? Why do we identify ourselves with material world? Or let me put the question in another way. Why do a jiva or living entity or a soul, it desires for material things? The answer should be very simple actually. Anyone would like to try? Why do we desire for material things?
Because we think they give us pleasure.
Okay, that is a very practical answer. Any other answer?
Modes of nature, jiva mode.
Yes, modes of under the influence of mode of nature, because we have turned our back from Krishna. So we are desiring independent of Krishna. When we desire independent of Krishna, automatically our desire will be material desires. Okay, and why we turn back our back? Because we are covered with ignorance, with agyan. What is that agyan? That I am this material body. We are not this material body. That is the basic foundation of Bhagavad Gita. We are just got engaged because of our desire into this material body. But the Gyan is that we are not this material body. But because we start identifying ourselves with this body, we are under ignorance. So what the material nature, the Maya Devi, she causes this ignorance, this bewilderment in two ways. So first, because of our desires, she covers our intelligence with false ego, our false identity, and makes us think we are body. So we can, this is a very nice example we can understand. Imagine we go to movie theater to watch a movie. What happens there? All the lights are switched off. The whole room is dark, completely dark. So that is like Maya covering us with ignorance. Then on top of that, what happens? They will have a big white screen and they will start projecting a movie. So it's like Maya putting us into illusion. Why that's an illusion? But soon, as the movie will start and keep on running, we start identifying with what's going on in the movie. I'm sure everyone has this experience, especially when we go to movie theater. We start identifying ourselves with the emotions, the feelings in that movie, with the characters in that movie. Unless the movie is finished or interval or lights are switched on, right? So this is what Maya Devi does to us. She will put into the darkness, ignorance, and she will again, on top of that, give us that illusion that we are this body, we are Indian, we are American, we are CEO of this company, we are a VP. Everything is dependent on me. Without me, company cannot run. Without me, house cannot be run. I'm the controller of everybody. And everyone is caught up in their own movie. They have their own movie to make up. This is my family, this is my job, this is my nation. There's a very nice bhajan. E dhan yavan putra parichana ite ki ache pratiti re kamal dal jala jivan talmala kamal dal jala jivan talmala bhajan hari pad nai tire. What assurance of real happiness is there in all of one's wealth, youthfulness, sons and family members? There is no assurance of real happiness. Even if somebody is very wealthy, very youthful, have a lot of children or family members. Why? Because this life is like a drop of water on a lotus petal. What happens to the drop of water in a lotus petal? It looks beautiful for a short period of time, and soon after it goes away. It gets evaporated, right? Therefore, you should always serve and worship the divine feet of Lord Hari. That is the real goal. Shravana Kirtana Smarana Vandana Pad Sevana Dasya Re Pujana Sakhi Jana Atma Nivedana Govinda Das Abhilash Re. So it is a desire of a devotee. In this case, this bhajan is written by Govindas. So he's saying it is a desire and longing of Govindas to engage himself in the 9 processes of bhakti. Shravan, Kirtan, Smaranam, we all know these 9 processes. So the idea is, what is the real desire? When we desire, because from desire, everything starts, all the actions, the role of material nature, the sanctioning of Krishna and all that, fruits, pap, punya, everything starts from the desire. So we should, Guru Maharaj always says, we should desire to desire right. Our desire should always be, how can I purify my desire? How can I make my desire right desires? The eternal, which can help me in getting out of this trap of Maya. So now in the verse, what also Krishna says, or Srila Prabhupada says here, let me share again. So what to do then, right? That is the question. Okay, let me find that. The Lord engages the living entity in pious activities. So, okay, so we are trapped, we are loitering in this world and trapped, right? But for living entities, for souls who somehow comes in contact with bhakti or devotees, Krishna, although he is neutral, still he gives them special facility to the devotees so that they can continue in the right path. How he does it? The Lord engages the living entity in pious activities so that he may be elevated. How he does it? Through devotees, especially through our Guru, through spiritual masters. संसार दावा नल्ली ढलोका त्रणय कारुण्य घन घनात्वम प्रापत्स कल्याण गुणारवस्य वंदे गुरु श्री चरणारविंदम. The spiritual master is receiving the benediction from the ocean of mercy. Just as a cloud pours water on a forest fire, the forest fire is like our desires. We are burning in our desires. Just like a cloud pours water on a forest fire, spiritual master, Guru, delivers materially afflicted world by extinguishing the blazing fire of material existence. I offer my respectful obeisances to such spiritual master. How he does it? Shri Vigraha Radhana Nitya Nana Shringaratan Mandir Marjanado Yuktasya Bhaktamscha Neyunchatopi Vande Guru Shri Charanaravindam. The spiritual master himself is always engaged in Shri Vigraha Radhana, in the worship of Shri Radha and Krishna. And not only that, he himself is always engaged 24 hours. He also engages his disciples in such worship. That is the role of Guru. So, by engaging us in the devotional service, through devotees, through Guru, Lord engages us. Lord will not come himself for us. We are not yet that elevated. But still, out of his causeless mercy, he sends devotees, he sends Lord in the form of Guru to us. And what does Guru do? He teaches us the most important things to do in devotional service based on our capacity, our level of consciousness. Sadhu Sang, Nam Sankirtan, Bhagavad Shravan, Mathura Vas, and Shri Vigrahaya Sevana. Five most important limbs of bhakti Shri Guru engages us into. Sadhu Sang, he will always instruct us to be in the association of devotees. It may be a palatable experience, it might not be a good experience depending on our consciousness. We have to look within. But always be in the association of devotees, sincere devotees. Nam Sankirtan, he will engage us in Nam Sankirtan, give us the sadhana of chanting particular number of rounds every day without fail. Bhagavad Shravan, always engage in hearing, reading, speaking Krishna Katha, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita. Mathura Vas, number 4. Mathura Vas means Dham Vas. Whenever possible, spend some time in Dham. Vrindavan, go to Vrindavan, Jagannath Puri, so many places of worship all over the world. Go to Jagannath Puri, Vrindavan, Mayapur, Navdeep, Ahobilam, the place of Lord Nrsingadev, and Shri Murti Shraddhaya Sevan, Shri Murti Puja, Shri Vigraha Seva, so that we can connect, have some connection, we can establish some connection with Krishna directly. So Shri Guru engages us into all these 5 most important limbs of bhakti. Okay. So any questions so far here? The discussion we are doing is a soul desires, material nature facilitates in the execution of the desire, but it cannot happen without the sanction of super soul. At the same time, we should not blame Krishna for the reactions of anything, because it is originated from our desires. And now why that desire is material desire? Because we are covered in ignorance of agyan. We have turned our back from Krishna. Our desires are not Krishna conscious. If our desires, that's what we are doing with the process of bhakti, right? That we have to convert, we have to transform our desires into spiritual desires. Like Amish did the presentation, Srila Gopal Bhatt Goswami, what desire he had when a rich person came to him to offer money, clothes, and so many things. His desire was not to somehow get the money and become buy something for himself, clothes for himself or grains for himself. His desire was so pure that how can I use this Lakshmi in the service of Krishna? I worship these Shaligram Shila. How can I use it in the service of this? So he start meditating on that. He start praying intensely to Krishna, and Krishna transforms that Shila into Sri Radha Raman Dev. So that is a very, very extreme high class example. But the point is that when our desires are pure, then Krishna will send us all the facility to help us engage in the devotional service, purify our consciousness, and get out of this chakra of birth and death. The next question will come, right? That what is the solution then? When we are entrapped, how to get out of this trap? So that answer will be in the next verse that we will discuss next week, same day, same time. But I think it was a lot to discuss today. So I want to make sure it was useful. Or if anyone would like to ask any question or want to share any realization or correct any point that I might have misspoken, or add anything, please let's discuss. We still have about 10 minutes. It's a very important topic, so let's discuss. Hare Krishna. You can unmute yourself. Any questions, any comments? Anything we discussed makes sense?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So, yeah, very beautiful purport. So, I like the point where you said that we have to be very careful what we are desiring. So, here, Prabhupada also said that man proposes, God disposes. So, we have to be very, very cautious what we are desiring. So, I like this point.
Okay, thank you. Yes, thank you for sharing. Yeah, always desire to desire right. Okay. Anyone else? Anything you didn't like, what we discussed? We can share that also.
Prabhuji, I like this one. It says the Lord is constant companion of the living entity as Paramatma or the super soul. And therefore he can understand the desires of the individual soul.
And beautiful example, just like one can smell the flavor of a flower, right? By just smelling it. So he always knows our desires, and still he always follow whether our desires are pure or not pure, whether they are sinful. He is still accompanying us all the time. That is the pure mercy of Krishna. This is the limit of his love. That actually this is not the limit of his love. He's unlimited. He's loving us unlimitedly. Very nice point. And how
I
can we?
also,
Yeah.
yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah. I also like the point where you said that example, the killer example, right? You were saying that sometimes people took it like mistake it, right? Oh, my super soul sitting inside, like you have said that he was killing and he was saying, "Oh, my super soul is inspiring me to do this thing." So we have to be very careful with that also. And as you said, that example, that's two birds sitting on the tree, like one is enjoying all those things, and there is no end to it, and the super soul is watching. Okay, let them enjoy, let them enjoy.
Right.
So yeah, beautiful explanation for those two things. Yeah.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Gurudev. We have to just repeat what we hear. Anyone else would like to share any realization on this topic that we might not have even discussed today, but any realization you might have on this topic or anything else also is fine.
Yeah, Prabhuji, where it says, when we think about Krishna, Krishna takes good care of us, special care of us.
Hari Bol.
But Prabhuji, this is impossible. We are so much into material things.
So yeah, that is true. But again, there is a very good mathematics for that. If we take little step, Krishna will take 1,000 steps. So that is the great blessing of Krishna. So we should always try to do whatever we can, right? And he will take, and it comes in Mahabharata also. Lord Balram himself tells their Guruma when they were leaving the ashram of their Guru Maharaj Sandipani Muni. The Guruma was very sad. So she said to Lord Balram that, "Oh, Krishna and you are leaving us." So Balram very cunningly says, "No, Krishna once he takes hold of somebody, he will never leave."
Yeah.
Right? So by mercy of Srila Prabhupada, by mercy of devotees, we are somehow connected to Krishna. So that connection is there. So now Krishna is responsible for us also, as much as we are, but he's 1,000 times more responsible.
Yeah.
So in this context, I was reading, I think on this, I don't remember. So there was one pastime. So one devotee, he was traveling. So somehow, I think he was serving in the London temple, but somehow because of some family situation or something, he has to leave. And he was from Mexico or somewhere from the Russia. So he was not able to practice that. So he was coming back from his father's funeral. So they boarded the flight. So two devotees, two Mataji devotees, they were also boarding the flight. So they were not supposed to carry the prasadam, but the devotees, like they were leaving from Delhi or somewhere. So the devotees forcefully packed a lot of prasadam for them. So in the flight, like they were honoring the prasadam. So they asked this guy two times, like, "Prabhuji, would you like to have some prasad?" He said, "No, no, no." So like then he cried, like somehow he broke, and he said, "Why Krishna is not leaving me? I'm leaving him. He's sending me so many devotees." So Like he knew that I'm hungry because I'm coming from the funeral, and there they were. It was a tradition that they used to eat non-veg over there. So he said he knew that I'm hungry, so he's sending me so many people. And why he's not leaving me? I want to leave him, but he's not leaving me. So yeah.
Yeah, very nice pastime. Yeah, and especially if, by mercy of Krishna, when he came as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, only thing we have to do is chant Hare Krishna. Even if we are not able to read or travel to holy places, or for whatever reason not able to do the other practices, at least the minimum, if we can chant the names of Krishna every day with niyam, that is nothing like it. That's once we start doing it, like Madhudidi said, like it's so hard, but chant whatever we are doing, even if we are engrossed in our material activities, we can still chant. Keep chanting whatever way we can, and especially in the morning, at least some time we have to take out. At least that we can do, and then that's a very good start of the day. And as we will chant and continue to practice, more and more opportunities will come from Krishna automatically. He will create situations for us. Ultimately, he is the situation creator. He can give us all this gyan of material modes of nature. I am the sanctioner, I am the witnesser, and all that. But ultimately, he is the biggest manipulator. He can do anything, right? Without his sanction, without his will, nothing will happen. But once he sees we are doing even a little effort, even little service to Krishna never go waste. It will be always eternal. Any devotional service is eternal. Whatever time we are devoting in attending temple programs, bhakti yoga programs, or chanting our rounds, serving our vigraha at home, making prasadam for Krishna with the consciousness that we are making for Krishna, if that is the consciousness. Even watching the Krishna conscious programs, reading, all that time is not considered as a kal. That is the time that we have actually increased our life. We have increased our life when we use that time. So the more we do it, the more eternal we become. So that is the science behind that. Ajay Prabhu, Nina Mataji, anything you would like to say or add? Any realizations? कुछ भी आपको शेयर करना हो प्रभु जी? और राम बाबू प्रभु would like to share something? You're on mute if you want to say something.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Do you share any instances where Krishna, he just like interferes in our free will?
He completely interferes?
Yeah, interferes, or he just ignores our free will and enforce his will.
So in a devotional service, in that way?
Yeah, maybe in devotees, like maybe something. So that, is there any instances where?
Yeah, lot of examples are there.
Yeah, just.
You want to share, Prabhu? Anyone?
Yeah, Prabhu, you can share, Prabhu.
Yeah, so I mean, we know the pastimes Krishna did with Narsimha Mehta. How Narsimha Mehta was a pure devotee in Gujarat, right? Krishna, so took care of all his material obligations without even him knowing. He was totally engrossed in Krishna consciousness, and he was always chanting the names of Krishna, doing sankirtan, going to different houses for doing the kirtan. And Krishna even took care of the marriage of his children. There was no money, but Krishna, he came as a Seth, as a rich man, and he gave a lot of money and took care of. So, and in the case of, I'm trying to give a better example where I
Yeah.
forgot. Go ahead, Prabhu.
Yeah, just to drive the point, like to the extent we surrender, Krishna reciprocates in our daily.
Absolutely,
Yeah, that's what.
absolutely. Our Goswamis are the biggest example,
Yes,
right? Okay, it's 9:00, 9:01. So if nothing, we can have Narasimha prayer, unless somebody would like to share something else. Okay. So Amish, you're still there? You would like to sing Narasimha prayer?
Okay, I can do it.
Okay.
Namaste Narasingaya.
Namaste
Narasingaya.
Pralada Ladadaine.
Pradadadadadadayine.
Hiranyakashi Purvasyaha.
Hiranyakashi
Hiranyakashipurvasya.
Shilatankalakaya.
Shilatankalakaya.
Ito Narsingho Parato Narsingho.
Ito Narsingo Parato
Narsingo.
Narsingo.
Yato Yato Yami Tato Narsingho.
Yato Yato Yami Tato Narsingo.
Bahe Narsingho Hirdaye Narsingho.
Bahir
Narsingo Narsingo.
Narsimha Madim Sharanam Papaye.
Narsingo Pataye.
Tavakara Kamalavare Nakam Abudashinga Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringam Keshavadita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare.
Tab kar kamal vare Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringam Keshavadhirta Narhari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare.
Jaya Narsimha Dev, Jaya Narsimha Dev, Narsimha Dev, Jaya Narsimha Dev.
Jaya
Narasimhadev, Jaya Narasimhadev,
Narasimhadev, Narasimhadev.
Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj.
Jaya
Prahlad
Maharaj, Jaya
Maharaj,
Prahlad
Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj,
Maharaj,
Jaya
Jaya
Prahlad Maharaj.
Jai Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada.
Jaya
Prabhupada, Jaya
Prabhupada,
Prabhupada,
Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada.
Nitya Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitya Gaura Hari Bol.
Nittai Gaura Hari
Hari
Bol, Hari
Bol,
Bol, Hari Bol,
Hari Bol, Nitya
Hari
Gaura Hari
Bol,
Bol.
Gopamanande.
Hari Bol.
Bol.
भक्ति विघ्ननाशक लक्ष्मी नरसिंह भगवान की
Jai.
प्रहलाद महाराज की
Jai,
श्री गौर निताई की
Jai,
Jai.
श्री किशोर किशोरी की
Jai.
प्रभुपाद की जय.
Jai.
Thank you everyone, and we will get together again next week. And also, anyone has any feedback for is the slot that we did added in the beginning of the program is working fine for everybody? The 15-minute slot.
Who is doing next time?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. I should share that. Yeah. I think it is Anant Prabhu. Let me double check. Yeah, it is Anant Prabhu.
Okay.
So I hope he knows because he is not here today. So if that slot, how's everyone feeling about that 15-minute slot? I mean, I'm very happy. It's very nice.
Yes, it's very nice, Prabhuji.
Great. I hope more devotees can join every week. Anyone else has any feedback on that slot?